welcome to +14, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your co-MC Rach.
And I'm your co-MC Rich. Today, we have a returning guest. We have Rae! Hey, Rae.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Welcome back.
I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me again.
Well, we've had you on so many times that we can't do our normal PBTA question, right? Right?
Oh, wait. Surprise plot twist. When have we had Rae on?
Let's see. We've had Rae on once more into the void.
Yeah.
Oh, but that was Firebrands. What else?
Right.
Rae? I know we've had Rae on more than once, though.
Oh, there was a couple of summers ago, but that was for Belonging Outside Belonging.
Oh, so I guess we don't know how long you've been playing PBTA games, although technically all of those are PBTA games. But let's go back to the core idea of PBTA. And how long have you been playing those? And what was your gateway?
I think it's been at least 7 years, but what is time in this time of the Panini? I initially had a few failed attempts with Dungeon World. Mm-hmm. I can't quite say that was the proper gateway. Like, we tried a few times and I couldn't quite stick the landing, and mostly because up to that point I had been playing so much D&D and it was so hard for me to rewire my brain, especially because we were playing Dungeon World, so it like mirrored a lot of D&D,
right?
But it was so hard for me to understand the concept of the GM is open about everything. The GM asks questions, the players. I was very used to the Wizard of Oz approach, where I am behind the curtain and everything. And so it wasn't until Masks. So I really feel like Masks was my gateway into PBTA. And I think it's because I love comic books and I love the Marvel movies so much that it just made it easier for me to finally stick with PBTA and really open myself up to the possibilities. And now I'm here. I can't make my way back. I love PBTA too much.
Excellent. Well, why don't we jump on over here and read a Sitch? In Read a Sitch, our guest discusses something happening at the table that they're playing PBTA games, or they can also talk about something they'd like to spotlight that maybe doesn't get as much focus in gaming. Rae, what would you like to talk about with us today in our Read a Sitch?
Yeah, so I really want to talk about the idea of the promise of a move. So one of the things I love about PBTA is that even if you don't use a move, just having it in your playbook can influence how everyone plays at the table. So the reason why this came up is because I had a friend who, even though this friend is really into PBTA and role-playing games, they've never read Apocalypse World, right? And they've never played Apocalypse World, the granddaddy of all of this. And they were so shocked at the sex move. They were like, what? No one has talked about this. Why hasn't anyone?
Oh, so many people have talked about it. So
right?
many.
It's just been a while.
Exactly.
So this is the nature of the discourse, right? Is that we're stuck in these time loops that repeat. But yeah, so they were so shocked, and I was trying to express, but having that sex move there, like I remember playing Apocalypse World, everyone knowing that it was there. So every time there was an intimate moment going on between you and an NPC or you and another player, everyone would be like, is this it? Is this one me? Are we gonna? Are we not? Which I felt like was such a powerful thing. So even if we didn't choose it, right? Even if we didn't use the move, just the promise of it hanging in the air. It's not just sex moves. I think there are lots of moves in PBTA games that do that. But what do you two think?
I do think it's interesting, especially in the context of the specials or the sex moves in Monster Hearts, because I don't think we normally reach for sex as a topic or intimacy as a topic in tabletop games unless you make it explicit to the players, this is in play. And then that raises a lot of questions about what type of world are we playing in? Like, if that is a tool that your character should reasonably know they have access to that, what else have they picked up? How do they navigate the world differently? And I do think you bring up the point of, if you make it explicit, that sex is something that can come up, it does raise a question of, is this the right moment for it to come up?
Right.
What about you, Rich?
For me, I have several non-sex move related thoughts. First one that came to mind as you were talking about this, Rae, is that there are, I believe it was Chaos World, Grim World, I think was one, also in one of the Star Wars PBTA games that I saw, which of course was never officially released because Disney. There are death moves.
Oh.
Even if a character never dies, similar to what you're saying, Rach, the idea that there is a move that triggers. Hey, we could think about, is there a death move in Urban Shadows, your favorite game, Rach?
There is. There definitely is. When your character is about to die, depending on their playbook, they're able to do some like final move or pass along a piece of equipment that's important and kind of give it to the next generation. Curse everyone, that kind of thing.
Oh, so cool. So cool.
And knowing that that exists, even if it's never triggered, is really interesting because for some players, I have seen, oh, there's a death move. Well, I can't wait till my character dies. I am going to seek that. I'm running towards the death move. It has changed the entire scope of the thrust of what I'm headed for in a game. That promise of a move, I've seen that for sure. The other thing is, it reminds me of, I ran a play-by-post Apocalypse World game using Tony Dowler's Doomsday Seattle map, which is amazing and probably, again, it's like in the loops, as you said, where things fall out. It's probably falling out, but it's still one of my favorite Apocalypse things that you could use to enhance a game. So please look it up, Tony Dowler's Doomsday Seattle. But I ran a game set in Seattle, and there was an acid rain custom move. And the custom move was, if you go out when it's raining, if you aren't wearing protection, here are these terrible things that are going to happen to you. If you do have protection, here's how much protection you have from those terrible things that are still probably going to happen to you. And it hemmed everything in. It made acid rain such an omnipresent threat. The promise of that move and the doom that it could bring was palpable. It forced people to explore the culture of, okay, well, we're all holed up into this place. We know we're not going out in there. So what are we going to do in the time that we have where we're stuck here?
Wow, that's so good.
It was really good. It was a great game, some incredible players, but that custom move did a lot of work for the world that they existed in.
Yeah, the world itself feels very oppressive. If something you always have on your mind is, if I leave this building, this is what's outside, and I can try to protect against it, but that might not work.
Exactly.
Are there any other move promises that we've tickled in your brain? 'Cause I know you know so many games.
I love a lot of games. This is a little self-indulgent, but in Apocalypse Keys, you can have ruin moves where instead of rolling the dice, you just mark ruin, and it represents you leaning into the part of you that is a harbinger, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But what I like about ruin moves is that once you take it, it shifts everything at the table. So I have had players who've had characters who have a dark patron. They just have to mark ruin. They just have to give into the harbinger, and they can get what they want from the dark patron, but everyone knows that that's going to show up, and you're making a deal with another harbinger. A lot of these moves are like that, and so once a player takes it, everyone at the table is like, is this it? Are things bad enough that you're going to call in the dark patron? Is it not bad enough yet? Are you going to not do it? Even if it never gets used, everyone is always like tense about it, and it becomes a part of the experience of the character, like justifying to themselves, no, I have to hold on to my humanity and I shouldn't give in to the harbinger in me. So I just really love that. And it wasn't something I intended when I just wanted people to have an excuse to be like really monstrous, but I liked how it created a conversation of character without meaning to.
Speaking of conversation of character, have you ever seen a player change how they're approaching a character as they get more familiar with the moves of a game?
Oh, yeah. Which is super, super fun. Especially when there's some games where the moves really surprise you. Like when I was playing Fellowship and I was playing the dragon, I was like, you mean I can take this move called "This is not even my final form"? I love saying it. I just love the name of that move. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. Oh,
It's
we have
so
notes
good.
to trade. I have a dragon in my Fellowship game right.
Oh, it's so much fun. It feels so different. That move, once I took it, I was like, is this it? Is this what I turn into? Am I gonna take this final? And so it shifted how I played, because as a character, I was always thinking, because you turn into like a dragon. I cannot express enough how different you become on the scale of things. And so everyone looks at you like, okay, we're in a small space right now, Rae. I don't know if you're going to fit. Right? I felt like a nuclear option. And it really did affect how I played once I got that move.
That's how the dragon in my game is approaching it too, is she did it once and everyone was stared at it and went, oh no, this should not happen again. How do we get it out?
Right. So cool.
Rae, you teased us a little bit about Apocalypse Keys, so why don't we step over to Open Your Brain and get a little bit more into that game.
Open your brain.
In Open Your Brain, our guest will share with us an Apocalypse Engine game they've designed. Rae, tell us a little bit about Apocalypse Keys. What's the setting and what's the game about?
In Apocalypse Keys, as an Omen-class monster, you are the only thing capable of holding back the apocalypse. Combat occult threats and investigate supernatural phenomena alongside your team of supernatural agents working for the Shadowy Division. But in a world that shuns monsters like you, only your deepest, most heartfelt bonds can grant you the power to stop those who seek to unlock Doom's door. Basically, it is my love letter to both Hellboy, the films and the comics, and comics in general. I feel like the kind of superheroes I love in general, I feel like it's a love letter to that, but it is also a love letter to all the PBTA games that I've loved over the years. And yeah, so that's a basic setting of Apocalypse Keys. It's very high stakes. It's very emotional. It's very monstrous. It's very queer at the end of the day, too.
What mechanics are different in Apocalypse Keys versus Apocalypse World?
Apocalypse Keys draws on newer Powered by the Apocalypse games. And so if I were to get into all the differences, basically because of these newer games that have really inspired me, we could be here for a long time. But I think the most immediate significant ones that'll surprise people is that, number one, we don't have stats in Apocalypse Keys. Instead, you have ways of gaining darkness tokens, ways you can lean into the emotional themes and the narrative themes of the playbook available to you. And the more you lean into those, the more darkness tokens you accumulate. So, for example, when the summoned wants to gain darkness tokens, they can do so by feeling unloved or abandoned, if they overreact with violence, if the summon asks someone to give them their best shot and not hold back, or if the summon asks someone to love me and only ever me, or finally embody a condition that affects them. So it's an opportunity for the players to really lean into things. And one of my favorite questions is always like, well, how much are you leaning into it? Is it just 2 darkness tokens, or are you picking up all the way up to 4? The reason why there are tokens in place is because in most PBTA games, you're trying to roll as high as possible. Mm-hmm. So the more bonuses you have, the better it is. But in Apocalypse Keys, you are powerful. You are monstrous. It is very possible that you will go too far, because the difference between an Omen-class monster and the dreaded Harbingers that are here to bring about the apocalypse isn't very much. If you roll an 11+, you go too far. So you're trying to hit that sweet spot of 8 to 10. So it's always a question of like, how much do I want to invest in this role? Do I want to try to hit that sweet spot? And we know what the dice can be like. Or do I want to invest as many darkness tokens as possible in this role just to make sure I succeed, even if I go too far, even if it's a disastrous success? So it's this, I want to say every time I have been a player, I hardly ever hit that sweet spot. It's very stressful. I always end up going too far, even when I don't put in that many tokens. But it's a really fun experience. I was inspired by Liberté. So Liberté was the one that introduced the concept of like tokens. I want to be clear about where that came from. And it was so great. It was so great in Liberté because it really got me into the mindset of being a child in this horrible post-apocalyptic world and struggling with your emotions. And so I wanted the same for Apocalypse Keys too.
I have to say, from the first moment I got a chance to play Apocalypse Keys back when, like actually a little bit before the beta when you had it out on Patreon.
Exactly. You're one of the first to play it, Rich. So,
yeah. But what fascinated me about it was knowing your development of so many different belonging outside belonging games and seeing how you took that knowledge and pulled it back into more of a core PBTA framework, because I see those gaining the darkness tokens is very
BOB-esque, right?
Yes.
I love that aspect of, like, I was looking for Firebrands games in this. Where are they? Because you just break all the rules, but make this really interesting.
I will say some of these moves in Apocalypse Keys feel like a Firebrands minigame. So I will say that now.
Okay.
There's a way that they play out, especially in the final version of the game. There is the concept of the final mystery. I created some final mystery moves that are available, and they feel very like Firebrand minigames.
Ah, cool. Good.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied to hear that. Nice.
But it was definitely like such a challenge to take on PBTA. Like, it's still very challenging to design a BOB game. Like, getting those prompts right, getting those moves right takes a lot of finesse. But getting PBTA moves, like, there are about 90 moves in Apocalypse Keys. And
wow.
So it took a lot of work. There was one move that I literally spent days just staring at over and over again, tweaking back and forth, trying to calculate. I was that meme, that blonde femme with all the calculations, just trying to like figure out, like, oh gosh. It definitely feels like Apocalypse Keys is the most challenging but the most satisfying game that I've ever worked on too.
You said there were over 90 moves in the game?
Yeah.
Now, if you can only pick one as your favorite...
See, I set myself up for this.
Which one of all of the moves you invested so much time sitting and staring at and calculating and engineering and reverse engineering, which one's your precious favorite?
Oh my gosh. So this is such a hard question. It is incredibly difficult, but I love the ruin moves, so I did talk about them earlier, right? And if I had to pick a single ruin move, right, this one move that really has you lean into the Harbinger, it has to be the Shade's Corridor of Doors, which was, ironically, one of the easier moves for me to write. It was a move that was inspired by Luke Jordan of Wildwood Games. So they have an entire playbook called The Door. And I was like, wow, like the entire idea of the playbook is that you open doors into like other worlds. And I was like, I have a whole game about unlocking doors and ancient doors that Harbingers are trying to get to. I just had to do it. So the idea of the move is, the text reads, you have been with Division long enough that they trusted you with a secret. Over the years, Division has managed to collect ancient doors of power and place them within a metaphysical space of highly volatile energy. Each door exists within a fluctuating state of open and not open, locked and unlocked. Only the most powerful in Division know that the Harbinger within you can access these doors. They watch you with great interest. This is technically one of those Firebrand moves, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically you have a list of doors and they're prompts for you to work with, right? So one of the doors is the door of the Spider Lord, of webs and cunning, of patience and guile. And another one is the door of the twin moons, of gravity and stars, of darkness and void. And so there are these doors for you to draw upon, but it's up to you, the player and the keeper, to decide, what does that mean? Like, what happens when you open the door? What's going to show up? And you mark ruin depending on how much control you want to have over what shows up. So if you only mark one ruin, whatever is behind the door is unleashed. You cannot completely control what happens next, but you are given a fleeting opportunity to bargain with whatever comes through. The door will disappear from the corridor and reappear somewhere else in the world. Cross it out from the list. When the corridor of doors is empty, lose access to this move and choose another. And then the second one is, if you mark true ruin instead, whatever is behind the door acknowledges your power and control and sees you for the fearsome harbinger you will become. They will obey your commands for a time before returning to the corridor of doors. This is my favorite because I've seen this in play so often with different people. I feel like as a shade, it's so hard to resist that move. And I've seen other people also pick it even if they're not playing the shade. And it's been fun each time. Each time we like figure out what's going to show up at the door. Is it going to make things better? Is it going to make things worse? It's just I just love it so much. And I love how it's also inspired by other great games. And I think that's why I like it so much, because Apocalypse Keys is just inspiration upon inspiration for me.
That's very cool. Well, Rae, I have to admit, you've got me a little excited to see the newer, shinier version of Apocalypse Keys.
It's very shiny.
Would you be amenable to a quick little demo in Act Under Fire with us?
I would be absolutely honored.
It is time to act under fire.
In Act Under Fire, our guest runs a short demonstration of their game, a bit of actual play. Rae will be running Apocalypse Keys for us. Rae, take it away.
With Apocalypse Keys, we have this juicy mystery that was created for a one-shot. I'm going to take some creative liberties and we'll try it out for a one scene. Let's see how it goes. So it's called The First Door. This is the message you received from Division before you went out to see what's up. So, Omen-class monsters, monstrous agent trainer Vex, and new recruit Mr. Knock have both gone missing. Our psychics have deciphered a distress signal from decommissioned Division Base 0001, where the first door is secured under maximum security protocols. These security measures have been compromised and are now ineffective against Harbinger-class monsters. Find Vex and Mr. Knock. If either or both have succumbed to the Harbinger within them, you have direct orders to eliminate them. Find the door of power and contain it before the Harbinger claims ascension. Before we get into it and we check out Division Base 0001, shall we meet our characters?
Sure. I will be playing Astra the Last. Astra was born to be a vessel of the gods. Astra was born with no name, and on his planet the vessels were named after the conquerors who barred the path to the gods, the Astra. Astra was but a child when the temple priestesses spirited him away, placing him in an escape ship and sending him to Earth. To this day, Astra is not sure why the priestess saved him, and none of the other children. He stands close to 9 feet tall, and his 6 eyes are filled with the endless stars of the galaxy he left behind.
I'm going to be playing somewhat of the complete opposite. I'll be playing the Marquis, the Summoned. As one of the 2,000 princelings of the 12 halls, the Marquis was given a title fitting of her station, is a title that may be stripped of her if she weakens her family's political power in the Hell dimension. Because, you see, she is a princeling of Hell. The Marquis family has entered a pact with a secret society from the human world, promising them power in exchange for 1,000 human souls. Over the decades, those souls were dutifully collected. However, after the 988th soul was captured. The Marquis was summoned to ensure the collection of the final 12 souls. However, the Marquis has delayed collecting the final 12 souls and has chosen instead to work with Division, even though she suspects that might be part of her family's grand plans, trying to subvert those plans. But are you, in fact, just a chess piece, even though you're looking for freedom? It's very complicated and murky. I love it.
So I'm so glad the two of you get to whip out some of our pre-generated characters, pre-generated omens as they are. I'm excited to see you make them your own. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. Let me set up the scene for everybody. It was difficult to get here to Division Base 001. A prior apocalyptical threat compromised specific aspects of reality, and reaching the decommissioned base takes incredible resources. Division made use of approved portal activations and finely tuned spell tech machinery just to make sure that you didn't overshoot the target. Now, when you arrived at Division Base 0001, you were supposed to meet up with Angel Goramel. They were supposed to be your contact. But when you reached these huge, colossal metal doors that were torn open, you found the remains of Angel Goramel. Their beautiful white hair against the white snow, blood everywhere, and there's just nothing that remains of Angel Goramel, and there's just this gaping cavern down below, and you can hear the howlers in the distance, screeching, reaching into your very bones. When you went deeper into the base, you looked for what you could find. It's mostly abandoned laboratories, experiments of Division, but a lot of these caves existed even before the base was put together. So it took some time, but you managed to make your way through. So you found yourselves in what remains of the research center. Most of the facility is inaccessible or rotted away, but someone has kept many experiments running at minimum capacity. You can see there are these huge vats. Some of the vats are filled with specimens, monsters that didn't quite survive over the years. But I want to ask, my dear summoned, in the decaying remains of the lab, what do you find here that is linked to your prophecy, that is linked to your destiny to become a harbinger?
The thing that the Marquis was not expecting that was linked to her prophecy to collect the 1,000 souls is there's the remains of a experiment. When you look at the notes and the pages, some of our listeners might be familiar with the experiments trying to figure out the weight of a human soul to see if it did have mass, if it was tangible. Ooh. There's definitely notes here of, in the lead up to the test subjects expiring, what was their weight at any given point in time? In the aftermath, was there any shift? Calculations say with weird formulas trying to figure out these minute changes to quantify something that is inquantable. And she knows that, you can't quantify a human soul, not in normal human physics. Why bother? But they were definitely looking for something here, looking for some form of energy, potential as it were.
Ooh, I like that. And when you look at these formula, when you look at what they have remaining in storage, these specimens of the soul, you can see how volatile these energies are. They have been kept in this strange place, affected by whatever the first door is over all these decades. And you can see one of the vats is starting to crack. And then this huge shadowy hand hits the side of the glass. What do you do, Astra?
Be careful, Marquis, Astra says as he moves quickly to stand between this threat and his friend, his ally. He'll move closer to the glass, ready to destroy whatever is left, whatever wretched remnant still moves.
So through the foggy glass, through what remains of the water, murky as it is, amber-colored, you see an amphibious humanoid, bright cyan and fuchsia skin, and flesh hanging off skeletal remains. And when they open their mouths to speak, they speak in a hollow voice. You realize it's not being said out loud, but it's echoing through both of your minds. Oh, visitors. Well, that can't be very safe now, can it? It's been many years since I've seen an Omen-class monster, but I recognize that sheen of power about you all. I assume you're on a mission? I can assist you as best as mostly dead, very dead. I'm sorry, I'm very dead. As a dead friend can help you. But, hello? How can I help? And you can see like their large eyes blink and unblink, like through the sides instead of like up and down. And they try to smile, but then the flesh hangs off a little bit in this like really eerie fashion. They're trying their best.
They called themselves friend, but do I recognize this creature at all?
So I'm going to say that you do recognize, like through the archives of the division, Abraham Aquatica was considered one of the best Omen-class agents of their time. This was decades ago. They died in the field, supposedly, during one of the many apocalyptic threats. And so it is harrowing for you to see poor Abraham here, like as an experiment for division. It probably doesn't bode well to why you don't have this information and why he's been here this whole time.
Tell me about what has happened to you.
Oh, well, I don't want you to think I'm not taken care of. The professor is doing her best. And you notice that when he says the professor's name, what remains of his flesh along his cheeks blushes a little bit. And then before the cheek falls off, and floats in the water a little bit. And he says, but, every time I try to remember, and then his eyes sort of go blank for a moment and shift and glow before he says, but I'm here to help you. I am doing good, all things considered. When he says that, the vat drains of all its liquid, and he looks even more harrowing without the liquid holding stuff up. And he climbs out of the vat and with this wet sound, like lands on the floor next to you.
I'd just like to point out that I asked Abraham to tell me of their past.
Oh,
so
nice.
I would like to gain 3 darkness tokens as a result.
Perfect. Excellent. Go ahead and take your tokens.
Done. You say that you have not seen any omens in a while, but honestly, your memory is suspect. We're seeking 2 others, a trainer and a new recruit.
Oh, and then you see Abraham, collect themselves, maybe both figuratively and physically. And Abraham says, of course, we can, why don't we go here? Let's check. There's a security system, an observation chamber, if you will, that we can access from here. I would help, and as he reaches out to touch the electronics, you can see they start to freak out. So they can't reach out themselves and touch it. But the Marquis, would you like to take a look? See what you can find? Maybe grasp some keys?
Sure. Although I don't have any darkness to roll for grasping at keys.
Oh, we can do a little bit of a power move. Do you think you have tapped into any of your ways of gaining your tokens here?
I don't think so, unless it's to get inside the security room, it's overreact with violence and I kick in the door.
Oh, let's do it. Let's overreact. Tell me how it happens.
She overreacts by kicking in the door to the security room. It was unlocked. There was a handle. The door is now dented where her foot landed and just blew that door in.
And smashes into the other side. And Abraham is, you know what? We didn't need that other set of computers anyway. Everything is fine, my friend. So how many darkness tokens do you want to pick up?
I think it's 2. It's a little bit surface level.
Okay, so the door didn't smash too hard. Okay.
The door is very smashed in, but I think overreacting with violence to an inanimate object is very different than overreacting with violence to a living person.
Oh, I like that. That is the first time someone has said that, but it's very true. Excellent. Yeah, so go ahead and pick up your 2 darkness tokens and tell me like how you can use like your powers of darkness. You can tell me that you're just going to go through the computers and see what's up. So just as a reminder, your power of darkness are you have emotion amplification and you also have shadow control. So it's up to you. This is all just pure flavor about how you're going to grasp some keys.
I think it is a mix of shadow control and also general knowledge of the human world. The Marquis family has been in close contact with human cultists for a long time. They are no strangers to human technology. She knows how to use a smartphone if she wanted to. But I think that shadow control lets her reach out and tap and access all of the different consoles and keyboards at once to search all the computers, to look for all of the security footage, to see what has been deleted. Like, just as a general, I'm going to do as much as possible.
I like that. Very cool.
So I spent 2 darkness and I got a 9.
So on a 9, that's nice. You hit that sweet spot that we were talking about. Okay, so on a 9, you uncover a key, and I will tell you what it is. When you're using your shadow control, you're like operating these computers, I think there's a moment where we see the shadows, the darkness leak over all these dials and lights. Everything darkens around you until we just see you and the glow of the monitors against your face. Abraham and Astra behind you. And what you see is security footage of Vex, and it doesn't look like Mr. Knock, because you had reports of what Mr. Knock looks like. You know that Mr. Knock is this monstrous shadow flesh creature, but what you see instead is a torn apart shadow holding a little girl in their hands. You know that this is bad news, because Mr. Knock used to be 2 people. Mr. Knock used to be a little girl, Bella, and the dark monster under her bed, Michael. And you know the 2 of them came to Division to be part of the Ascension Project, and they were merged using, no one really knows what Division did, but previously they were not Omen class monsters. They were way below the level of what is required to be an Omen class monster. But as Mr. Knock, as a merged being, they became one of the most powerful agents. So to see them separated like this, and you can see in the security footage, Michael is clearly distraught. The shadow being is like spiking and moving all over the walls, holding onto Bella, and you can't quite make out the sound with the footage. You can't tell if Vex and Michael are arguing or just having a really impassioned conversation. But one moment, Bella is in Michael's arms, and in the next moment, Bella is gone. And Michael is just completely overwhelmed and distraught. And then that's when the security footage ends.
The Marquis is definitely going to use a shadow tendril to roll that footage back and call everyone's attention to it, saying there's Mr. Knock there. You can see they're separated, but then Bella's gone after, I'm not sure if it's an argument. Something seems off. Astra, what do you know about Vex?
I'll ask that as a leading question, Astra. So you and Vex used to be partners. And you were there on that last mission, the one that drove Vex to quit being an agent and to become a trainer. You know for a fact that Vex is trying their best to protect the recruits. There's a very high fatality rate as an agent of division. So what I want to ask you, Astra, is who did Vex lose? That was the last straw.
It was against regulations, but I looked the other way when Vex professed their love for Kara the Shade.
Gasp.
When Kara was taken from us.
Oh, no.
That's when Vex couldn't go into the field anymore. The only reason he agreed to be a trainer is to try to keep that from happening to anyone else. If Mr. Nock is in distress, Vex will try to help. But you know our orders. You know what we will need to do. Are you prepared, Marquis?
I am more than prepared.
I would like to try to appear at the scene wherever Mr. Nock might be at this moment.
Ooh. I have a feeling I know how you're going to do that, but tell me, how are you going to show up on the scene?
Tragedy will not claim another.
Yeah.
I would like to bear a golden opportunity if that's what it takes to bring the Marquis along with me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then I will mark one ruin and then a second ruin.
Ooh.
Excellent.
What does it look like when you lean into your powers of darkness to make sure you can travel through the rotted remains of the space to where Michael is?
All 6 of his eyes flash the golden aura of the sun that exploded when his starship fled. His body grows beyond its humanity to reveal its inhumanity for just a heartbeat. For the two, the Marquis and Astra, disappear from this piece of reality to appear wherever Mr. Nock can be found.
And so the two of you shift through time and space and find yourselves at the bottom of this terrible shrine that has been built through several stories of the division base. And the shrine is terrible to behold. You realize that these wretched creatures, these howlers that you've been avoiding this whole time, they're actually what remains of the poor division agents when the base was abandoned decades ago. And so together, they have created the shrine to the first door. It is made up of rust and rot and skeletal remains. It is colossal and reaches up many stories and down below into the depths. And you see Michael is panicking, tearing through the shrine. One of the howlers is holding Bella and reaching up, and you can hear Bella like sobbing as Michael says, "No, Bella, please, I'm going to protect you." And you can see like the howlers are moving faster before the rest like descend upon Michael, and they're starting to tear poor Michael apart. You can see the shadows just being ripped apart as the howlers feast upon him. What do you do?
I think now is a perfectly okay time to react with violence, if you don't mind me saying. The Marquis is going to launch herself at these howlers who are trying to rip apart Michael, not so much trying to save Bella, but to get in range of the blows to eat the next blow that's intended for Michael and reflect that attack back on the howlers. I think that's probably worth 3 darkness to just, without question, without asking, just go for it.
So yeah, go ahead and pick up your darkness tokens.
I picked up my 3 darkness tokens, and I'm going to go up against a colossal and otherworldly opponent. I don't think each individual howler is quite that large, but a whole gang of
they
them.
mass together. Yeah, no, they're going to start forming together to become one horrible being. Let's go. Let's do this.
And I imagine how this looks is one of these howlers reaches down to throw a punch, to drag a claw into Michael, and the Marquis lands in the middle and then like grabs that limb and then yanks it, ready to do a counterattack on these howlers. Gonna roll on that description. Let's spend some 3 darkness. Let's go in for overkill. There's no kill like overkill. But I roll always not well. So overkill, this case is a 9.
Oh my gosh. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. I was like so worried we were gonna
Oh no, I was willing to go 11 plus, but I got a 5
true.
and a 1 and I'm spending 3, so that's a 9.
Nice.
I could do basic math.
Perfect. Better than me. Okay, so you've got them just where you want them. You get to choose 2. Ooh, these are some... I'm saying this like I didn't write the move, right? These are some delicious options. Which 2 would you like to choose?
I'm definitely going to give my ally a golden opportunity. Seems like a great moment for it.
Yeah, and so Astra gains 1 bond with you. What kind of golden opportunity is it?
I'm definitely grappling the Howler, and the Howler has all of its attention on me. It really depends on Astra. It's if Astra wants to go snatch Bella and be the big hero, there's an opportunity there. If Astra wants to get a punch in and backstab the Howlers from behind, also an opportunity there.
Yeah. What do you do, Astra, with this opportunity?
I would not steal the violence from my ally and take away the Marquis' opportunity to destroy these howlers. So I will take this golden opportunity and try to rescue the little one.
I think what happens is because the Marquis is punching this like mass so hard, all the other howlers start panicking and merging with this being. And so the one that was holding on to Bella lets go. And Astra, you're able to like grab onto her, and she puts her little arms around your neck, and she looks up at you, and she places her forehead against yours, and you can just feel her little body shudder with relief as she's finally safe. I think you're also going to pick up a bond with Bella. She sees you as her hero now.
Oh, right.
Right, so you got 2 bonds. 1 with the Marquis and 1 with Bella. So, the Marquis, what's your second option that you're going to choose?
Going to uncover a key at great cost, I think.
Ooh.
It's tempting to inflict conditions.
Yeah.
But I want a little bit more plot.
Absolutely. As you like tear away and punch at the howler, like this huge, massive form of it, you're able to like keep all of them focused on you. That's when you realize that the howlers, you're barely able to keep them at bay. It's almost like they know exactly where your weak points are. It's almost exactly like they know how to fight you. And so you're just really, really angry right now, Marquis. So you're able to like keep on top of this, no problem. But you hear all the howlers, all their many mouths speak all at the same time and say, case study file 642, target, the Marquis. And they start speaking, describing the records to show exactly how to fight you and to take you out. And so the second key that you find is precise instructions on how to neutralize you. This is something that this division base has been researching.
The Marquis realizes she's going to have to go off script. She's going to have to not go by the playbook that the organization knows. Who is my true parent or creator? Who is who's dad in this context?
I think it is the recently crowned King of Hell. Through conquest and violence and blood and without any mercy whatsoever, they have taken all the thousands levels of hells.
And I think that recently crowned is the key point that the Marquis knows, because that data might not have made it over yet.
Exactly. Perfect.
So there's definitely a moment where the Marquis' rage just goes overwhelming. And while she has turned her back on her family, there's this moment where psychically and through that emotion control just opens up and goes to the King of Hell and says, I need help fulfilling the prophecy right now.
Ooh, and I think there's a moment when we see like your arm made of this beautiful clockwork demonic machinery start to like ramp up, and you can see the spirits that were already contained in it start to screech and we see your father standing near the throne of hell, turn towards you and say, "Of course, my dear daughter. Let the prophecy be fulfilled. Let us destroy the world together." And I think that's where we're going to end on this like overreaction, this nuclear option.
It is a one shot.
It is a one shot. Why not?
Sorry, Astra has to kill you, Marquis.
I mean, it was a good run while it lasted. How long have we been partners for? Not that long.
Not as long as I was partners with Vex.
Aww.
Wow, Rae, that was pretty apocalyptic. I have to say, thank you so much for running a demo of Apocalypse Keys for us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for playing. The two of you were fantastic. This is so much fun.
If our listeners want to follow more of your work online, Rae, where can they find you?
The place I'm most active, I have to catch up a little bit, is on Patreon, patreon.com/SwordQueenGames. So Rich and other people were able to get early access to Apocalypse Keys the whole time I've been working on it, and some other big games I'm working on. You can also find me on itch at temporalhiccup.itch.io, and I talk a lot on Twitter about my games. You can find me there at Temporal Hiccup. I post a lot of Sailor Moon GIFs.
And we will have a link to the Apocalypse Keys Kickstarter, which is live as of the release of this episode. So do go check it out, everyone. Thank you so much, Rae, for coming on Plus One Forward, the actual, like, legit mothership show this time.
For realsies, you came on.
For realsies, thank you so much for having me again. It is such a joy to hang out with the two of you.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community, Richard Rogers and Rach Shelkey. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at @+1FWD. If you would like to support our show, visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/gauntlet. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and Magay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Aural Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko, Metal Version, and Drowning Attitude. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Aural Hotbed on their website, www.savageauralhotbed.com.
Listeners, we want to let you know that Hearts of Wulin, our PBTA game of wuxia melodrama, is now available as a PDF on DriveThruRPG. Hearts of Wulin emulates films like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and Shadow, and TV series like The Untamed and Ancient Detective. It is inspired by the Chinese martial arts novels of Jin Yong and Gu Long and their many adaptations. In these tales, romance is as dangerous as a blade. You can buy Hearts of Wulin at the Gauntlet store on DriveThruRPG. You can find more information and resources for it on our Gauntlet blog, on the Gauntlet webpage at gauntlet-rpg.com.